Welcome to the Encounter Community Church virtual service. I'm so excited to have you with us this morning. My name is Ken Ballard Jr. I'm the pastor here at Encounter Community Church. And I'm going to tell you, you've picked a great morning to watch our virtual service. You see, we're wrapping up a series that we've been doing called Where's the Love? And in today, here's what we're going to be looking at. Because we've been looking at the difficult aspects of love and what makes it so hard. And how is it so difficult sometimes for us to be able to get along? Well, today, Pastor Stan, our associate pastor, is going to wrap up this series, and he's going to be talking about racial reconciliation. Now, don't tune out, because I think what he's going to be sharing is really powerful, because here you have this 80-year-old white male who's been going on this journey and just learning some things. And we've had some really incredible conversations. And so he is going to share some of the things that he's been learning on this journey. It's going to be very candid. It's going to be very honest. I think you will be uplifted and encouraged today. And hopefully it will give you that hope to know that if he can change, I can change, we all can change. There's absolute hope. So please tune in for the rest of the service. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this morning. Thank you for the opportunity of being able to invest in one another, to invest in change, as well as invest in growth. And Father, we just pray for your movement this morning, that you will move us to this place that we'll be able to recognize how we can grow in love and bring that love in such a way that it really does bring about the kind of change that you desire. I also want to take this moment to pray about what is happening in Israel and Palestine, and just praying for peace that's there, praying for things to be settled. As we look and we see some of the imagery and some of the videos, it's intense and it's scary. So Lord, I just pray that your peace would just be poured out over those nations. And all these things we ask in your name. Amen. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We are so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us for the Encounter Community Church virtual service. We're so excited to have you with us this morning. We just wanted to share with you a few things that are happening in case you want to look at ways to get more involved here at Encounter Community Church. First of all, for those of you that are watching for the first time, we are offering an outdoor service experience for you. We keep it socially distanced as well as we wear masks. So grab a chair, wear your mask, come on out and enjoy some California sunshine as we worship God outdoors in our parking lot. So again, that's next Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. in the Encounter Community Church parking lot. For those of you that are uncomfortable with being able to gather yet, we totally understand that. We will continue to provide a virtual experience for you. We're so excited to share that we are just a little bit over a month away from relaunching our indoor services once again. Things are going really well with COVID, so it looks like it's going to be able to happen. So we just want to invite you to come on out and join us on June the 27th as we relaunch our indoor services once again. On May the 23rd, we'll be having our town hall meeting. It will be an opportunity for us to talk about and vote on the new budget for the coming fiscal year, as well as to talk about the direction of Encounter post-COVID. If you are a member of Encounter Community Church, we want to invite you to join us for that. Our Zoom information is on the screen, and hopefully this will be the last meeting that we'll have via Zoom. If you'd like to stay connected to the things that are happening here at Encounter, just text @SignUpECC to 81010. Again, it is through the Remind app, so we do not have access to your personal information. It's just a way for us to stay connected with you, to let you know about the things that are coming up in case you want to continue to get involved here at Encounter. If you would like to continue to support Encounter in our efforts to be able to serve our community and make a difference in our neighborhood, then feel free to do it in 3 ways. One, you can write a check to Encounter Community Church at 18749 Crenshaw Boulevard, Torrance, California, 90504. The other option is you can go to our website, encountercommunity.church, click the link that says online giving, and you can be able to give there. That link will also be in the description if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. And finally, you can give via text. So just text the amount that you'd like to give to 424-373-3583. And with that, just to let you know that if you're filling it out for the first time or if you're giving for the first time, there's a form that you'll fill out. We do not use that for spamming purposes. It's just so that at the end of the year, we can send you a tax contribution record for those of you that want to have that for your donations. If you would like to follow along with the message today, then place your phone in camera mode, aim it at the QR code that you see on the screen. A link will pop up. Follow along with that link, and with that, you will have access to the announcements as well as to the message notes. Now, one of the ways that we keep our outdoor service touchless is we also put the lyrics for that service on this app as well. So all you have to do is scroll down till you see message notes, and then you'll be able to follow along with the sermon. Again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're so excited to have you here. And Ariel, our worship leader, is going to lead us in a couple songs to celebrate God and who He is.
Letting go of every single dream, lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I try to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary and need no rest. My word this morning. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Good morning and welcome. It's good to see all of you, even though it is virtually. Today is our seventh and final message in this series titled, Where's the Love? We've looked at some tough aspects about love, about how we need to give that love that God has shown to us, to show that love to other people. And I believe that Ken in his messages and Daniel in his message has relayed that in a fantastic way to us. The title of today's message is The Third Option. Culture tells us that we have to choose, that we only have two options, us and them. Well, what if there's a third option? Today we will learn how to see God's image in everyone. In everyone. I read a book by Miles McPherson titled The Third Option, and it's subtitled Hope for a Racially Divided Nation. Today we're going to delve into racial reconciliation. Much that I speak about today, I learned from this book. Miles McPherson is the founding and lead pastor of a very large church in San Diego called The Rock. He's also a former NFL football player. He played several years for the San Diego Chargers. And Miles McPherson is biracial, but he identifies as black. Growing up, he got picked on by the children in his black neighborhood for not being black enough. But he went to a white school where he also got picked on for being too black, and he got picked on by the white children for not being black enough. The other way around, but you know what I mean. So for him, it had to be so difficult and for him when he was growing up. The word honor will come up in this message several times today. Think about this. God's third option invites us to honor that which God and all of us have in common. And that is the presence of His image, the presence of God's image in every person that we meet. Their value is precious because they are beloved by God. I think we would all agree that our nation is divided. Our nation is divided politically, our nation is divided racially, and in many other ways as well. We're going to look into this today. We will look into that. And the devil, he is so pleased to see us divided, and especially to be divided racially. He's very good at keeping us divided. Make no mistake about it. Satan is very smart. You might say, well, Stan, I don't know about that. You see, the devil loses in the end, and he's going to hell. Well, that may be right, but in the meantime, he's going to take a lot of people with him. Also, I think that we would agree that we need to get past being so divided in this nation. We need to get past this. Satan has divided us, but more importantly, let me tell you, God will bring us back together. You see, He doesn't see us as black or white. God doesn't see us as Asian or Hispanic. He sees us as human. That's how God sees us. See, racism isn't a black or white problem. Racism isn't an Asian or a Hispanic problem. Racism is not a color problem. It's not a color problem at all. It is a human problem. It's a human problem. God, just happened to make us different colors. Look at me. He made me polka dot. I've got freckles all over the place. I tell you, when I was younger, they really stood out, but as I've gotten older, they've kind of blended in a little bit. But in my younger years, they really stood out. If you would have asked me a couple of years ago if I was biased, I would have said emphatically, no way in the world. I have no kind of bias against any ethnic group at all, just for the sake of that. But as I've looked at this closer over the past year or so, and I had some conversations with Pastor Ken, and as I've read this book, I began to realize maybe there are some unrealized bias, some unrealizing things that I should and could work on. Let me tell you something. The reality is that we all have some racial bias in our lives, whether we realize it or not. The Japanese have an art form called kintsugi. And what it is they take broken pottery and they glue it back together with gold. And when it's glued back together, they feel that the pottery is more valuable than the original. Hopefully today, we can realize that our repaired nation, when we repair our nation, it's going to be more valuable. It's going to be a greater nation. It is going to be more God-honoring than it is today. God, if we allow Him to, will help and He will guide us. He will guide us in repairing our land. You see, the devil, he wants us divided. He is happy when we as a nation are in turmoil, fighting one another for so many different kinds of things in this land. He is delighted when we're like that. Well, God made us in His image to be together, to be one nation under God. It will be a beautiful thing when we come together as a nation. And I pray this morning that some aspects of this message today, some aspect of the third option will help us in that endeavor to become closer together as a nation. There are several things that we're going to look at today, but first of all, let's look at 3 kinds of systematic racism, just briefly, and then we'll look into them a little bit deeper as we're going along. Number 1, institutional racism. It's system, rules, and guidelines that separate people, government things. Some of these things have been sort of dealt with through the years, like school segregation and things like that. But let me tell you something, a whole lot more needs to be done. It's not been too many years since if a couple of color went into a real estate office to buy a home, and the real estate person wouldn't even show them homes in a certain area of the town because they didn't sell to those kinds of people. That's not right. Number 2, internalized racism. That's where people internalize messages that they've heard from other people. It can just sort of seep in as you hear these things over and over as you're growing up, and whether just sort of seeps into you and you don't even realize it. But this process becomes like an automatic reaction to situations. For the person that's on the receiving end of this, it can make them feel like they are less than. It can make them feel that way. Think of a fish tank. Think of a big fish. The guy had a big fish tank. And in this tank, he put a piece of glass right down the middle. And he put all the fish on one side of the tank. They couldn't get to the other side. All right? They were all on one side of the tank. And the fish inside the tank would swim up to this glass and boom, hit the glass. And they'd turn around and swim back. Again, they'd swim up trying to get to the other side. Boom, they'd hit the glass. And then they would turn around and swim back. Over and over and over, they would hit this glass. And then after a period of time, the guy, he took the pane of glass out of the fish tank. And what the fish did was they swam up to where that glass used to be, and they turned around and swam back the other way. They didn't go to the other side. I think because they felt like they didn't belong over there. They felt like they didn't belong on the other side. You know, can you see the correlation from that and some of the things that's happening in our nation? I believe you can. Number 3, personally mediated racism. this is how a person expresses racism against another person. I want you to hear this. Please hear this. If you don't hear anything else from this message, please hear this. You can be racially offensive and not even realize it, not even know it. And you're not being a racist about it. Most people do that once in a while or sometimes not meaning to. Oh, there's racists out there that are happy to do that do it on purpose. That say, I don't like this group of people. I don't like that kind of a thing. That they're openly racist. But most all of us, that we just do it unintentionally. We don't mean to do it. You know what it has to do with? It has to do with how the person heard what you said. That's what it has to do with. It doesn't mean you're racist, just that you're uninformed, so to speak. But I hope you hear this as well. We still need to deal with those kinds of things. When we do, when we realize that these kinds of things are happening and we deal with them, it is going to help bring us closer together. It will help. As an example, some time ago, I was preaching and I brought up in my message for some reason about race. I said white and black, and then I said Hispanic, and then I said Oriental. And after the message, Ken told me that the word Oriental is offensive to Asians as a whole. I had no idea. And if I offended you, I'm sorry for it. Because if I say something that's racially offensive, I want to correct it. And I'm so glad that Ken told me about that so that I could correct that. Because, and listen to this, we can be predisposed to bias without even knowing it. Ask the Holy Spirit this morning to keep your mind open. Keep your mind open to see how you can be more honoring in your dealings with other people. Also, we can have blind spots. Blind spots. I want to talk about that for a moment. A blind spot is something that you can't see, that you don't even realize that you have. Like when you're driving in your car and you want to change lanes, you look at your mirror, but that's not all you look at, because you have to turn your head because there's a blind spot there. And until you look at that blind spot, you don't know if you can safely change lanes or not. Well, it's kind of the same way. It's real. That blind spot is real and you have to look at it. And the blind spots that we have that we're going to talk about are in your mind. But it's not just in your mind, it can be in your eyes as well. Our retinas have defects, so to speak. The retinas in our eyes have defects. There are certain areas or certain angles that we look at that our retinas don't see properly, or maybe not at all. It causes a gap in what you see. And what our brain does is it fills in the gaps with certain things that compensates for that by assumptions or by what our brain thinks should be there to fill in that gap. You don't even realize you've had a gap, but your brain fills it in. It believes that it puts the right thing there. And normally it does. Usually, always, it fills in those gaps properly. But sometimes it may not. It may not be right. And you might get a skewed view of what you think is right. And you don't even know it. That's the blind spot in your retinas. All right. Based on limitations in our physiology, our brains routinely do that kind of a thing. Well, just like that, we fill in our relational blind spots with things that are based on our past experiences. Whether they're good or they're bad, we fill these in. So sometimes what we think we know may not be exactly right, because our brain is filling in those gaps, maybe not correctly, good or bad. We can project what we expect to see when our brain does that, and it does that automatically. We all have blind spots when it comes to race. You need to start identifying those blind spots in the things that you do, in the things that you say, and in the way that you think. Only then can you identify those blind spots and correct them. If you don't identify them, if you don't realize them, you can't correct them. You need to realize it. You need to realize it. All right, we went quite a way without looking into God's Word, so we're going to look into God's Word now. Joshua chapter 5. Joshua had led the Israelite people across the Jordan River into the Promised Land. Remember when the priest had to step out into that raging river at flood stage before the water stopped, and the entire nation was able to cross through the river on dry ground. And they camped at Gilgal, near to Jericho. That was the place of their first fight. And that was the first time that they ate produce from the Promised Land, was there at Gilgal. And that very day, that's when the manna stopped. The manna that God had provided for all those years as they wandered around the desert now had stopped, and they were being sustained by the produce from the land flowing with milk and honey, as God had promised their ancestors. The verses we're going to look at are just prior to their battle at Jericho. There's a sudden appearance by a heavenly figure. Again, our culture tells us that we have only two options, us or them. And again, what if there is a third option? Let's read Joshua 5, 13 through 15. Now when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us, or are you for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied. "Neither." By saying that, it's like he's saying there's a third option. There's a third option here. I want unity. I'm for unity. I'm not for them or for them. I'm for unity, that we honor what we have in common. I mean, Joshua could have went up and asked him, do you want hamburgers or hot dogs? And he says, no. That's not an answer. That's not an answer. And I think that Joshua felt the same way about this when he says neither. But let's look back. Verse 14, "Neither," he replied, "but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. There are some that feel like this heavenly figure was an angel in human form. And that could be. But I believe, and many others believe, that this is a theophany. This is a God. I believe Joshua was speaking to God here, just by some of the words that kind of relate to some of the things that you see at the burning bush. I believe God had an experience with God there. We all have the ability to have a relationship with God. Amen? All of us have that. And to walk in unity with others, to show love to others, to all people. And we are to live up to that standard. We are to. Government won't do it. Government's not going to do that. We, as God's people, must do that. We have to do it. You and I. All of us. There are in this world groups. There's groups. We all have groups. There are in groups and there are out groups. Women are a group. Nurses are a group. Mechanics are a group. Married people are a group. Single people. Bowlers, bankers, you name it. There are groups. There's groups for this. There's groups for everything. The groups you are in are your in groups. The groups you are not in are your out groups. Okay? Then when you are in your groups, you exercise in-group bias. You exercise it, knowingly or not. You exercise in-group bias to some extent. We all have it to some degree or another. By what we've been taught, by what we've seen, by what we've heard. This bias is the tendency, okay? It's the tendency to give preferential treatment to those like us. To give preferential treatment. So let's look at in-group bias. Number one, I am more comfortable with those like me. I am more inclined to spend time socially with those like me. I am more patient with those like me. I give the benefit of the doubt quicker to those like me. I express more grace when mistakes are made by those like me. It is easier to communicate with those like me. I am more willing to go out of my way to help those like me. I possess more positive assumptions about those like me. Those are in-group biases that we have to some extent that we don't even realize in most part. So when you walk into a room, you automatically, instinctively almost, gravitate to your in-group. You're more comfortable there. You're more comfortable. This doesn't make you a racist at all. You know what this makes you? It makes you human. It makes you human. Because that's what people do. That's just what they do. Now we're going to look at the next thing. It's called out-group discrimination. We're going to take a look. It's kind of like the opposite of your in-group bias. It's out-group discrimination. Let's look at that. It says, I am less comfortable with those not like me. I am less inclined to spend time socially with those not like me. I'm less patient with those not like me. I give the benefit of the doubt slower to those not like me. I express less grace when mistakes are made by those not like me. It's more difficult to communicate with those not like me. Number 7, I don't assume it should be I there. I don't assume I will get along with those not like me. I'm less willing to go out of the way to help those not like me. I possess less positive assumptions about those not like me. Again, probably not even realizing these kinds of things. When this happens, when you show this bias, this discrimination, you're not racist, but it can feel that way to the other person. It can feel that way to the out group. All right? It can feel that way when you unknowingly maybe give them the cold shoulder. Everyone does this to some extent. Everyone. The Bible says, love your neighbor, right? Does it mean your neighbor is someone like me? Is that what it means? No. It means this. It means your out group. That's what it means. It means your out group. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to try to figure out a way to show love, to show in-group bias to your out group. Find a way to show in-group bias to your out group. So, there are some things we can do. And we're going to look at a few of those things to spend the rest of our time together this morning. One, maybe A in your notes, but it's number one to me. Acknowledge your blind spots. Acknowledge your blind spots. Doing that is the difference between your intent, all right? The difference between your intent, oh, you didn't mean or realize something. Oh, I didn't intend to do that. So it's the difference between your intent and your impact. Those can be two different things. Therefore, we must realize that. We've got to realize it. If we don't accept or realize it, we can't fix it. Can't fix it. You can try having a conversation with people not like you. Try having a conversation with people not like you about, do I ever say or do anything that is offensive to you? Let me tell you, that's not an easy thing to do. That's not an easy conversation to have. That's not something that's easy to bring up. But let me tell you, when you bring up something like that, when you bring up a conversation about something like that, that can be a positive step. That can be a positive thing. It's not easy, but it can be a positive. And that we can learn from it to love better. To love better. Remember, a blind spot is something that you don't even realize you have. It's something you don't see. That's why it's called a blind spot. Because you didn't know you had it. Number two, rename that person as your brother or your sister. What that is no more those people. I don't want to have anything to do with those people. No more of that. Don't say that. Who is your neighbor? Don't say that. Don't say this, what I'm going to say right now, but your neighbor is those people. That's your neighbor. Why do I say this? Why do I say that? Because let's look into our core value statement, Mark 12, 30 and 31. Listen as I read this. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Your neighbor is the person in your outgroup. Another verse to look at is 1 John 4:20. If anyone says, I love God, yet hates his brother, he's a liar. For anyone who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. If you say, well, he's not my brother, he's not my neighbor, or you say, she's not my neighbor, you give yourself authority to mistreat them or to let them be mistreated. That's like hating your brother. When I watched cowboy and Indian movies as a child, the cowboys were always the heroes. They were always the good guys. And the Indians, they referred to as heathens, degrading them. When in reality, we are all human beings, no matter of our origin or our ethnicity. Amen? No matter of that. Number 3, give in-group love to your out-group. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. I'll just mention it for a moment. I gotta get this off my chest, so to speak. How America, the world maybe, I don't know, but how America is biased against left-handed people. I'm left-handed. How many out there are left-handed? Not very many, probably. Raise your hand if you're left-handed. Not very many, because most people are right-handed. Most people don't even realize this. They don't even realize this, but things like school desks School desks are designed generally for right-handed people. You know, when we, left-handed people, when we write on paper, we write from left to right. Well, if we write like a normal person, we smudge what we just written because it's very fresh and it hasn't had time to dry. Well, that's why you see left-handed people going like this. They gotta go like this so they can write, so they don't smudge what they've written. What about if you go into a sporting goods store? There's way more right-handed baseball gloves than there are left-handed. And that's okay to have more gloves because there's more right-handed people. But they have more styles, more variety for the right-handed person than they do the left-handed person. Try going in a golf club store. If you're left-handed, you may have to special order your golf clubs because you're left-handed. What about this? We shake hands right-handed. When you go to court, you raise your right hand to be sworn in. That is what is called privilege that people don't even realize that they have or that there is. And I bring this up to emphasize the fact that there are privilege in a lot of other different areas in our nation that we don't even think about or don't even realize that's happening. And it's privilege. You know, so I got that off my chest. Left-handed people rule. Ooh-ah. But think about this. Think about how you would feel if you went someplace where you were the only one or one of a very few in the out-group. What if you went to someplace like that? Do you think it would make you feel uncomfortable? Or better yet, what if you tried it? Try going to someplace like that to see what it's like and see how you feel. And if you do that, come back next week and tell me what happened. Tell me how it went. You can do that to get some first-hand understanding of what we're talking about. Number 4, acknowledge your brothers and sisters' color. Acknowledge their color. People say, well, I don't see color. Oh, you don't see green or orange? You don't see color? I know what they're saying. They're saying, I don't, it doesn't matter to me if they're what color they are. It's not my color. It doesn't matter to me. I know what you're saying, but we need to acknowledge that. We need to embrace the different colors. We need to embrace it and acknowledge it. After all, God made all these different skin colors. God is the one that made them. Or sizes, or shapes, or economic classes, or intelligence, or whatever it is, but we're talking about race today. Remember the TV show, Sanford and Son? Remember that? It was a very funny show, but it had some racial stuff in it. It did. There were 2 cops on the show periodically. One white cop and one black cop. And the black cop would always try to inform or tell or show or tell the white cop about the situation because they were in a black neighborhood and he was trying to tell them what the story was, you know, try to bring him up to speed. Well, on one episode, Fred got robbed. Fred Sanford got robbed. And the 2 cops showed up at Fred's house. And the white cop says, Mr. Sanford? Was the perpetrator colored? And Fred said, yeah. He was colored white. So he was colored white. The point being, culture says people are white or they're colored. The third option says all people are colored. White is the color just like brown is. White's the color just like brown is. We are just different colors made by the same God. Be comfortable with what people are. Number 5, view every conversation as a race consultation. Say what? View every conversation as a race consultation. In reality, every time you see someone, you acknowledge what they are. You're a man, woman, black, brown. You don't say that, but you know it just because you saw it. You know it. It's just a fact. It's subconscious. It just happens. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. Why? Why does that happen? Because God gave you a brain. He gave you a brain. That's why it happens. You probably can't stop that split-second recognition. What about assumptions? We'll talk about assumptions, but you can work on those. Sometimes we have assumptions. We need to stop and allow that person to self-disclose who he or she is. Listen to the story. Have a conversation with them. Have a conversation about who they are. Listen to their pain before you form an opinion. Like, you might, or a person might say something like, oh man, he's wearing his pants really loose. He's a gangster. He's got tattoos. He's been in jail. Those are assumptions. You don't know that. That just pops into your head whenever you see something like that. And there's a lot of other things as well. Listen to the story. And finally, number 6. Give your heart to those not like you. Give your heart to those not like you. Work on showing love to all people, no matter what the difference might be. Now listen, I'm not saying about this or about anything I've spoken about today that you should put yourself in harm's way. Don't put yourself in harm's way, but I believe and I know that you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference. If and when we begin to do these things, this world will never be the same. This world will be a better place. A place where this divide that we have right now will begin to diminish. And the divide will diminish and diminish and diminish until there's no divide at all. Let's pray. Father God, we come before you today, Lord, with our hearts and our minds open to what we may not have known or seen or realized before. I pray that we're able to see some things that we may be able to deal with, that we may be able to realize we can do a little bit better. Things, dear Father God, that will help bring us together as your people. For we're all your people, God. We know that. But sometimes we don't show it exactly the way we should. Help us to do better in that, Lord. Help us to be a people that truly are like you. See each other as human beings. And that color has nothing to do with that. That we can show the love that, like you have, for all people. All people, Lord. Help us to be that way as we try to understand this divide that has been in this nation for forever, Lord. And help us to get past that and to be one nation under God. In Jesus' name, amen.
God, I look to you. I won't be overwhelmed. Give me vision to see things like you do. God, I look to you. You're where my help comes from. Give me wisdom. You know just what to do. That verse again. God, I look to you. I won't be overwhelmed. Give me vision to see things like you do. God, I look to you. You're where my help comes from. Give me wisdom. You know just what to do. And I will love you, Lord, what to say. I will love you, Lord, my shield. And I will love you, Lord, my rock. Forever all my days, I will love you, God. God, I look to you. I won't be overwhelmed. Give me vision to see things like you do. God, I look to you. You're where my help comes from. Give me wisdom. You know just what to do. I will love you, Lord, what to say. I will love you, Lord, my shield. And I will love you, Lord, my rock. Forever all my days, I will love you, God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Our God reigns. Hallelujah. Our God reigns. Hallelujah. Our God reigns. Forever all my days. Hallelujah. Sing that again. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, our God reigns. Hallelujah, our God reigns. And hallelujah, our God reigns. Forever all my days. Hallelujah. Sing that one more time. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, our God reigns. Hallelujah, our God reigns. And hallelujah, our God reigns. Forever all my days. Hallelujah. Yes, forever all my days. Hallelujah. Forever all my days. Hallelujah.
So again, I love Stan's honesty about his journey. Stan, thank you so much for being willing to share the things that you're learning and just maybe even working through your own biases and those other perspectives that you're trying to learn how to figure out and how to balance. And I'll be honest too, like in this journey, I've had to work through my own biases. I pray that we'll do that. Because here's an important thing for us to understand. When we go to heaven, it's not going to be homogeneous. We're going to see every tribe, every culture, every color that is there. We will all be there together. So why not start by learning how to work through our biases and beginning to build love and connection and healing and reconciliation so that we can begin to experience heaven, a little piece of heaven right here on earth. And I love the advice that Stan gave. Let's start connecting with our out group, people that are not like us, and let's have some conversations. Let's be willing to sit down and dig into some of the harder conversations. But again, do it with humility. And also just to realize this, that if there's someone that comes to you from the out group wanting to have a conversation with you, they may be asking questions, and maybe the goal is not to be offensive, but just to understand. So let's be patient. Let's show grace. Let's show mercy. And let's begin to lead this conversation that can bring about racial healing in our land. But let's just start with our friends, with our neighborhood, with our community. Well, again, we're so thankful for you to join us this morning. And if you're watching on YouTube, we want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us or like us on our Facebook page. That way, when we post new things, you'll be one of the first ones to be able to know about it. Once we're done today, there's going to be some discussion questions that will pop up. So if you're sitting around with friends and family, feel free to walk through those questions together. If you missed the announcements, they will play once again after the questions are done. But we are so excited about being a part of this conversation. Let's lead with His love as we really begin to become people and agents of healing, of renewal. Because Encounter is about three things. Love up. Let's fall madly and passionately in love with God. Love out. Let's love our fellow man. And it does say in Scripture, how can we love God whom we have not seen yet, hate our fellow man whom we have seen? So there is a mandate by God to practice His love and begin to change it just by walking across the street. And with that, love in. Let's grow and become the best that we can possibly be. Well, again, thank you so much. God bless you. And next week, we are launching a brand new series on parenting. And I just want to let you know that if you're not a parent, tune in anyway, because I think you're going to be uplifted and encouraged. And maybe it might be an opportunity for you to learn some things about yourself as well. So again, next week, we're launching a brand new series on parenting. We're so excited to do this, and we hope that it blesses your life. Well, take care. God bless you. And we'll see you once again next week. Thank you so much for joining us for the Encounter Community Church virtual service. We're so excited to have you with us this morning. We just wanted to share with you a few things that are happening in case you want to look at ways to get more involved here at Encounter Community Church. First of all, for those of you that are watching for the first time, we are offering an outdoor service experience for you. We keep it socially distanced as well as we wear masks. So grab a chair, wear your mask, come on out and enjoy some California sunshine as we worship God outdoors in our parking lot. So again, that's next Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. in the Encounter Community Church parking lot. For those of you that are uncomfortable with being able to gather yet, we totally understand that. We will continue to provide a virtual experience for you. We're so excited to share that we are just a little bit over a month away from relaunching our indoor services once again. Things are going really well with COVID, so it looks like it's going to be able to happen. So we just want to invite you to come on out and join us on June the 27th as we relaunch our indoor services once again. On May the 23rd, we'll be having our town hall meeting. It will be an opportunity for us to talk about and vote on the new budget for the coming fiscal year, as well as to talk about the direction of Encounter post-COVID. If you are a member of Encounter Community Church, we want to invite you to join us for that. Our Zoom information is on the screen, and hopefully this will be the last meeting that we'll have via Zoom. If you'd like to stay connected to the things that are happening here at Encounter, just text @SignUpECC to 81010. Again, it is through the Remind app, so we do not have access to your personal information. It's just a way for us to stay connected with you to let you know about the things that are coming up in case you want to continue to get involved here at Encounter. If you would like to continue to support Encounter in our efforts to be able to serve our community and make a difference in our neighborhood, then feel free to do it in 3 ways. One, you can write a check to Encounter Community Church at 18749 Crenshaw Boulevard, Torrance, California, 90504. The other option is you can go to our website, encountercommunity.church, click the link that says online giving, and you can be able to give there. That link will also be in the description if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. And finally, you can give via text. So just text the amount that you'd like to give to 424-373-3583. And with that, just to let you know that if you're filling it out for the first time or if you're giving for the first time, there's a form that you'll fill out. We do not use that for spamming purposes. It's just so that at the end of the year, we can send you a tax contribution record for those of you that want to have that for your donations. If you would like to follow along with the message today, then place your phone in camera mode, aim it at the QR code that you see on the screen. A link will pop up. Follow along with that link, and with that, you will have access to the announcements as well as to the message notes. Now, one of the ways that we keep our outdoor service touchless is we also put the lyrics for that service on this app as well. So all you have to do is scroll down till you see message notes, and then you'll be able to follow along with the sermon. Again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're so excited to have you here. And Ariel, our worship leader, is going to lead us in a couple songs to celebrate God and who He is.